I briefly want to talk about some of the titles that we have in the store real quick, and maybe just kind of talk about how they came about. Want to talk about the Blue Baron, sort of a Freaky Friday body switch superhero story. Never seen anything like it before. How did that come about, Blue Baron?
Okay, well, I'd say about, I don't know, I was living in Marina Del Rey. I remember this. It was about 18 years ago, and I came up with this idea where like a business guy who got superpowers, and it was like a dark version of what Blue Baron is now. It was like for whatever reason, I thought it should be edgier and dark. Maybe that was because I was in my 20s and early 30s. I don't know.
That's about everybody.
And I didn't have kids yet. But it was just that time in my life where I thought, oh, this would be a cool sort of edgy sort of story. And I didn't know what to do with it. There was a variation. I came up with another sitcom that might have had some connection to that, but I never ended up taking anything with it until I got Sal Buscema on the phone, and he was keen to work on something. And I actually invited him aboard before I really knew what I wanted him to do. And then I remembered that story, and I thought, well, what if I make it a funnier story and make the hero sort of comedically costumed without making it a joke? But it's like, it's an anachronistic costume, as you can see. It's from the 1770s. So the idea is to bring the humor out of the costume, and the fact that, you know, when you do a body swap, everybody's sort of familiar with what that means comedically, and I felt like that hook, and, you know, it's not the freshest hook, but I feel like in superheroes it's got room to, you got room to entertain a mainstream audience with that idea. So that was where it got into it, and then it started as like a 25-page story that I just kept expanding until I was like, you know what, I'll just get Ron. Once I had Ron Friends on board, it was like there was no reason to stop where I'd originally planned to stop. So that turned into a 50-some page book that has now grown into, I'm working on issue 3, or Ron's already penciling issue 3, and that'll put us up to like 150 pages, 180 pages. So it's been a wild ride, but I love that story because it's about a teenager who's sort of the zero of his school, and there's an accident, and he and this iconic superhero who's kind of a joke to the younger superhero fans that live in a world with real superheroes. Yeah. They end up switching bodies, and the hero and Zero switch bodies, and it's fun because these are flawed characters, because they've gotten so comfortable with who they are that suddenly getting out, and in some cases comfortable for the teenager, but not in a good way, because he's just used to being abused and whatnot by his classmates, picked on and bullied. Suddenly having superpowers is a great gift, and then it's like a dream come true. And then for the superhero who's, you know, is a pretty entitled guy, he's got a business, that he's multi-millionaire, he's got superpowers, he's attractive, suddenly living in this nightmare world where he's got parents telling him to go to bed and what to do, and kids picking on him. It just has flowed really well, and you know, I enjoy the fact that these are flawed characters, and that they're making mistakes when they're in each other's bodies, as opposed to the typical, you know, dark or edgy or, you know, characters who sort of know what they're doing from the minute they put on the costume.
Blue Baron is definitely, like you said, it's a fun story. There's so much possibility there. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Well, I'm really excited about issue 2 of that. I feel like I'm starting to get, it was like that was the first issue of Blue Baron I sort of came up with, realized I was breaking it into chapters and things like that. I feel like with issue 2, I've got the drama and the comedy all sort of working really well together. Yeah. So I think if you tried issue 1 and you weren't sure, you know, for $4 more you get another 60 pages, and you'll really, I think, be really invested in those two characters by the end of issue 2.
It's definitely a great book. Like I said, it's in my pull file. I can't wait to see where it goes. Sometimes I want to talk about, you know, about sort of like the teenage experience, going in and talking about Telepathetic. Just a really funny book. What I enjoy about it is Telepathetic is basically this book that sort of delves into that teenage experience, that age in life where we're all trying to put forth this image of, you know, this cool image of who we are, but then, you know, when people can start reading your minds, that's just a recipe for some hilarity right there. Can you talk about Telepathetic for a little bit?
Yeah, how to. There's actually a television pilot that we shot that I wrote about 10 years ago.
Oh.
And it was called Telepathetic, and I was very happy with the way the pilot went. Unfortunately, the network had issues with the lead actor, one of the lead actors, and it became a case of, well, we want this show to go forward, but we can't do it with this actor. So we went through 6 months. I was living in London, which was another great experience, writing a sitcom for the BBC. I had to come back and spend 6 months recasting it. We never did find anyone better than the original character, the actor. So that sort of died, and it was a real difficult thing because it seemed like it was positioned to get on the air and run for a while, but it didn't get past the pilot because of those issues that I said. And so Telepathetic just was almost in some ways the catalyst for me doing this. And Blair's done a great job on the art. It's funny because I think people see a lot of what I'm doing as retro, even though the characters are new. That's intent. Like I want a classic look. People who really regularly go to comic stores are most interested in that book because it sort of looks more modern, as it were. Despite its cartooniness, I think it doesn't feel like just the Archie style or the old 70s Marvel or the Mad magazine. It's got its own unique style, and I think that is one of the reasons it appeals to comic book readers. But once you get into the story, hopefully it's everybody's story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think everybody can relate to it. I mean, everybody, like I said, it reminds me of those teenage years.
They're really fun to write, and I've got the second issues about halfway drawn, and hopefully that'll be part of next January's wave. And, the stuff in that really should entertain. If you like the first issue, you're going to love that second issue too. So, it's really great. You can just feel characters really starting to come to life. So it takes less energy to think of what they're going to be doing, and that's one of the great things about Telepathetic. It's just fun to get those characters back together again to tell a new story.
Audiences want characters that are real these days. What I really enjoy about Startup is that you have a single mom who's gotten these powers, and she's going out there and she's using them for good. But one of the things I really enjoy about Startup is her relationship with her son. And it's sort of like she kind of comes to him for guidance every now and then. She's not just doing these heroic deeds because it's the right thing, but it's like she's also trying to keep in mind that, I've got to set a good example for my son. I think that's a very powerful dynamic. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I can definitely say that I'm trying with the, you see the time slot rating, and we can talk more about that, but I try with the 7 and 8 o'clock titles to make family comics for families to enjoy together. And I definitely feel like a big part of that is that I have my own family now, and I don't think I could have ever created these worlds before I had those kids of my own. But I feel like I have them in my mind when I'm writing and telling these stories, especially the superhero books, because I want them to feature families. And, Ernie is part of a family, despite the fact that he's got the Blue Baron's head in his body now. He's going to live in a family, and those are people he has to become, familiar with. And I just feel like, and then the third book that's coming out next January with Stephen Gordon art is called Headhunter, and there's a huge family component to that really makes the book itself feel like it's, even though the character in the universe has been around a while, it's like an origin story for how he's going to live his life from that point on. And it's all about family. And the relationship between Renee and her son Malcolm in Startup is definitely trying to own the reality of a superhero having a kid who's that age. You want to include that. You can't exclude them from any part of your life. And if you can include them and they can be helpful to you, that's a big plus. And I think that's definitely, I appreciate your mentioning it. It's definitely intended. And it continues throughout in issue 3 as we plotted it out. There's a lot of Malcolm, and you just got to keep that family dynamic is really important to who Renee and Startup is. So expect more of it.
Can you tell us anything about what we can expect to see in the future from Sitcomics or any upcoming titles?
Well, I've teased a few things. I mean, Roger Stern's doing that book for me with Ron Friends. That may not be in the next batch, but Protege from the Heroes Union is going to be in a spin-off title that will give him a bit more to do and will change the status quo for him in that universe. There's a Western title that I've got a guy named Randy Bishop drawing. Oh, and the Protege book would be Corinne Howe, who's done stuff with Ghostbusters, Oni Press, and she's really a great artist, and I'm really excited about having her. I mean, there's a lot more ideas and artists. Renee Reeser-Zelnick is an artist who did a couple of the Sit commercials. She's drawing a book that is also in the superhero universe. I honestly could continue to do this forever if I could afford to. I'm obviously, I'm using the money that I've made from selling my collection of comics on eBay and also from working in television. And I have a Netflix pilot, but you never know where the next project is going to go. So I'm doing what I can while I can, and always with these series, there's no end to them. I can continue to. Tom Richmond's ready to do another issue of Z People when I'm ready to do that. Super Suckers, we're well on our way with issue 5. Blue Baron 3. It's all about finding an audience, and not everybody that comes into comic stores is aware of them or excited about them. And that's somewhat part of the DNA of the comics. They are meant to be for families, and not everybody who's in a comic book store is ready to admit that they're part of a family sometimes. But, and then the 9 o'clock books are a little edgier, but they're not really meant to be turning off anyone who's over a teenage, who's over 13. So, the rambly answer is that there's a lot coming out, and there's a lot to get excited about. And I'm glad that, your store is, Golden Age is carrying these books. I really tried to be specific about not overdoing it, because I've invented a new distribution system that sort of owns the fact that so few publishers get ordered in comic stores in the first place, and they, nowadays publishers just have to ask people to pre-order or the stores will never carry it. Well, this is a distribution system that sort of owns that and says, this is how it will work. And I got a really great response, and even with the small number of stores, I sold a lot of comic books when the books came out on January 31st of this year, and look for more of the same next January 31st, hopefully with a lot more stores.
Awesome. Well, yes, Darin, we're very excited, and we, like I said, we're here at the Golden Age. We're very happy to have the books here. Very excited to see what's coming up next, folks. This is the time you got to jump in on these binge books and Sit Comics. There's going to be, like Darin said, there's going to be a lot more coming down the road. We can't wait to see it. So come in here, pick these books up. Darin, thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got kids. You've got Sitcomics.
I got comics. I got a TV pilot I got to be writing, and there's a lot of good, all good stuff though, thankfully. And it's really great with David and everybody there at the Golden Age has been really just so supportive and so positive. And I do feel like if you're looking for a full entertainment package, the binge book format is for you. You've got a $4 price point, but you've also got a trade's worth of entertainment, and these worlds aren't going anywhere. You just need to invest a little bit of money, and you get a lot of enjoyment. So really, you're supporting Golden Age as much as you're supporting the publisher, but I think that you're really also giving yourself a full piece of entertainment, which is what I think everybody's looking for.
Definitely. Folks, come in and pick these up. Darin, once again, thank you for joining us on the Golden Standard. Hopefully we'll get you out here to the store in person sometime.
I would love that. Yeah, yes,
Definitely. This has been another edition of the Golden Standard. We hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you in the store. Bye.